Hello everyone, I am Kanakalakshmi working as faculty of English in Sanjeev College of Arts and Sciences. Welcome to the online classes of CSS 3 for all 4th semester students. Dear students, today I am going to explain about the second lesson from Unit 2, that is development of ideas, which is very much relevant to the first lesson, paragraph writing. In the previous lesson you have learnt about what a paragraph is and how it is structured, but in order to write a paragraph you need to know how to develop ideas, since each paragraph deals with an idea. Providing details and support for our ideas is called development. To develop your ideas, you will need to know what types of development you should use. With this information, you can then present convincing details to your readers. Developing ideas can be done in many ways. There are three main stages involved in developing ideas, namely pre-writing stage, next writing stage and editing stage. Let us go through the pre-writing stage first. In this stage you need to think about what you are going to write. Next, gather all the details or facts supporting the topic. Next, note down all these to make them as meaningful phrases and make them as meaningful phrases. Just do mind mapping like this, which is a mental picture. You can follow some steps to form a mental picture. Think carefully about what you are going to write. For this you have to ask questions yourself like what, why, who, how, if, do, etc. Mind mapping is writing the topic in the middle part and branch out from the circle with the supporting details about the topic. Write down anything you can think of, making connections as you see fit. List as many questions as you can think about your topic. Questions like, what is the most important part of my paragraph? What should I write as an introductory sentence? How can I improve my, how can I impress my readers? Do I need more facts on this topic, etc.? Next, write down your answers to all these questions in your notebook. Just make short sentences. Next, write down facts related to the topic, collect some facts which are related to the topic, and try to avoid unnecessary details. Write down your own ideas like your opinions, experiences about the topic. Next, organize your facts and ideas. For this you have to put them in an order so that your reader can understand the topic without any confusion. Next, writing stage. Once you have a mental picture of the topic, you will be ready to write the paragraph. This is the writing stage. Write the topic sentence, that is introduction, then supporting details and the closing sentence. Use simple sentences. Focus on the main idea. Expand the idea with facts, events and memories to trigger in your reader's mind. To develop your idea, reflect on the significance of quotes, facts to make the topic more interesting. Next, editing stage. Just check your paragraph for mistakes and correct them, like spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, punctuation, etc. Read the paragraph again and make sure each idea is clearly expressed. Dear students, you will be asked to expand an idea like proverbs or any particular topic in your semester exams. If you are asked to expand a proverb, then you should know how to expand it. First, let me tell you what a proverb is. A proverb is a well-known saying that conveys a general truth or that offers a good advice on life and behavior. For example, honesty is best policy, all that glitters is not gold, etc. Proverbs are simple in form but packed with meaning. They may consist of short sentences, but they contain a lot of wisdom. Some proverbs conveys meanings that are opposite of what they usually mean. Expansion of proverb is a meaningful writing task. It involves understanding the meaning of a proverb, what it implies, and how it relates to the present time. To expand a proverb, you will have to explain its meaning and elaborate its significance by using reasoning and giving examples from real life to convey its truth and wisdom clearly to the reader. First, read the given proverb, think about it and understand the meaning, significance, and implications. Think of one or two examples from real life, from books you have read and films you have watched, or from other sources. Arrange your thoughts in the logical sentence using simple words. Make the opening and concluding interesting and impressive. I will give you some examples on how to develop an idea. Number 1, a stitch in time saves 9. If you are asked to expand this idea into a paragraph, then you have to write like this. You have to expand this. Like, it means the action of everything should be taken on time, because time will never wait for us. And if we do our work at the right time or fixed time, then time also saves us from troubles. We have to do work on the time, because keeping on wait time causes the laziness and leave work for tomorrow. When a small hole appears in a piece of cloth, it can be easily repaired with a single stitch. On the other hand, if it is not repaired in time, it will widen more, and many stitches will be required to repair the cloth. Similarly, all difficulties of this kind can be easily be prevented by taking timely action to remove them. People who are disciplined complete their work on time. Only they can be successful than others. Each one of us must understand the importance of this proverb and work accordingly. And our next example is slow and steady wins the race. This proverb says, even a person with an average talent can achieve success through continuous efforts. It is better to act slow and consistently than acting faster in a hurry manner. Continuous efforts, even at a slow pace, will bring good results. Life is like a race, and moving in the right way takes us to the way of success. We should be steady and confident, and confidence can help us succeed in life. If we are overconfident and lazy and stop doing tasks, then we cannot win in the race of life. We can find the truth of the proverb in the story of Hare and Tortoise. The tortoise kept moving slowly and steadily and won the race. We learned from this story that being slow doesn't mean you will fail. Similarly, if a man takes pride in being too clever, like the hare in the story, will lose the battle of life. One who is consistent, serious, and confident in his efforts wins the race of life. And here we have some more important proverbs. You just go through all these proverbs and have an idea. The pen is mightier than sword, a clumsy workman blames his tools, a friend in need is a friend indeed. A little learning is a dangerous thing, a stitch in time saves 9. Okay. Most important proverbs are: man does not live by bread alone, Rome was not built in a day, stitch in time saves 9, honesty is the best policy, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the nation, knowledge is power, all that glitters is not gold, look before you leap, slow and steady wins the race, try until you succeed. Just learn to expand all these ideas by using all these writing techniques. So dear students, expansion means enlargement for a proverb or a statement. Give the meaning, explain it, elaborate it with some examples, Organize your ideas in logical order, and expansion should not exceed 250 words. One paragraph is enough, and it must have clarity, so avoid repetitions and irrelevant matters. That's all I have to say about the development of ideas. Hello dear students, I am going to explain about two different terms, paraphrasing and summarizing, from Unit 3. Both paraphrasing and summarizing are very much similar with just a few differences. Both are the writing strategies used for presenting others' works or ideas in our own words. Now let us go through paraphrasing first. Paraphrasing is expressing others' work or ideas or expressing the sense of any passage or poem in our own words. It's like restating information using simple words. It can be useful for personal understanding of complex concepts and explaining information present in charts, figures and tables. It must faithfully reproduce the thought of the original passage in similar language. A paraphrase is a full rendering of the sense of the passage with all its details in the writer's own idiom and style. A paraphrase must be presented as long as the original. Sometimes it may be even slightly longer because we may have to explain a metaphor or a simile or an epigram which occurs in the original. Well, a metaphor is a word used in an imaginative way to describe in order to show that two things have same quality. Like a game of football, that is a metaphor used for the struggles of life. Epigram is a short poem that expresses an idea in a clever way. A simile is a figure of speech involving the comparison of one thing with another thing of a different kind, like as brave as a lion. These are figures of speech. So if you find all these figures of speech in a particular poem or a passage, you may have to explain them in your own words. Remember, you should not add any new ideas which are not presented in the original passage. When paraphrasing, it is important to keep the original meaning so that the facts remain intact, because you are writing something in your own words that still expresses the original idea. Remember, while paraphrasing, give credit to the sources, like providing reference to the readers, just to avoid plagiarism. Otherwise, the paraphrase will be considered as plagiarism. Plagiarism means simply copying from the original without using own words. So to avoid this, we must use our own words and sentence structures to convey the information. Always cite the source and page number. Next, features of paraphrasing. The paraphrase of a passage or a poem contains same ideas or opinions. That means a paraphrase does not contain any new ideas or theme. All the figures of speech must be expressed in simple and direct language. That means a paraphrase must not contain figures of speech like similes, metaphor and epigrams. A paraphrase does not contain long and complex sentences, because a paraphrase should always be comprehensible. I mean to say it should be easy to understand to the reader. Technical and unusual words are not found in a paraphrase. Next, techniques of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing means restating information using different words. Paraphrasing aims to rewrite the information by drawing different words and phrases. The key to develop the skills of restating other people's ideas in your own words is to develop your own vocabulary and writing skills. Next, stages of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing involves 3 stages, namely pre-paraphrasing, writing stage and editing stage. In pre-paraphrasing stage, reread the original passage until you understand its full meaning. Note down the main idea and other points, whatever you have understood from the original. In writing stage, rewrite the material using your own words in simple vocabulary and sentences, but without changing the meaning. In editing stage, compare with the original to ensure that you have not copied the whole text. That means you have used only few words from the original. Check for ungrammatical sentences and proofread errors and correct them. Next, guidelines for paraphrasing. While reading the original, note down all unusual technical words and expressions because you have to explain them in simple and direct language. If you have to paraphrase a poem into a prose order, break the long sentences into shorter ones. Change the word order to make the meaning clear. Next, avoid repetition of thought. Change rhetorical questions into plain statements. You have to use your own words, but that doesn't mean that every word in the original should be changed. Only technical, difficult and unusual words should be changed into simple words. As far as the length is concerned, there are no limits. A paraphrased version of a poem is always longer than the original poem. The poetic vocabulary should be changed into prose vocabulary. If the connecting words and explanations are omitted in the poem, or if they are not properly used in the original, you can use some useful verbs for proper connections and provide references with page numbers wherever necessary. Use a good dictionary to find synonyms and their usage and context. Remember, you can change the words by replacing them with the synonyms but not the meaning. And change the sentences from passive to active and active to passive. Convert the ideas from your notes into full sentences and combine the sentences using conjunctions. Example for paraphrasing. Here is the poem. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. And the answer is first you have to change it into prose order, then you have to convert it into a paragraph, meaningful paragraph. We should not lose heart whatever may happen. We should be alert and active. Still working hard. We must learn to aim for and achieve for objectives. We must also learn to wait patiently for the results. It is the work, the goal that we must pursue irrespective of whether we are successful or not. This is the paraphrased version for the given poem. Here is a sample passage for paraphrasing about koala bear of Australia, and you have to paraphrase into your own words. I will explain how to paraphrase. The koala bear of Australia, the koala bear lives in Australia. It is really like a teddy bear that is alive. It has thick grey fur that feels as soft as that of the toy bear, and the koala bear has special features like a big head, large ears and little dark eyes without expression. As black as shiny leather, the koala's nose appears to be too large for his face. A gentle small animal, the koala has only one way to defend itself from its enemies, and its color is its only protection. As it can't make its nest, the koala just sits where the branches fork in a tree. As it doesn't have a tail, the koala cannot keep itself balanced like a bird. The koala eats only the leaves of gum trees, which it likes best. If all of its special food is eaten, then the koala will not go outside and look for food, and it always stays in its own area and will remain where it is and die of starvation. Well, this is the paraphrased version of the given passage. So, dear students, practice paraphrasing, which helps you to change vocabulary, grammar, and word order to rewrite the sentences in different ways but with the same meaning. It is helpful to correct your mistakes and analysis of grammar while paraphrasing. You can have difficulty while paraphrasing, but if you paraphrase, rewrite a sentence in different ways, it can help you become more familiar with the process of paraphrasing and helps you learn how to use a wide variety of grammatical structures and vocabulary. Well, that concludes my talk on paraphrasing. Now let us move on to the last lesson from your third unit, that is summarizing. Well, dear students, both paraphrasing and summarizing are similar with just a few differences. A paraphrase is a full rendering of the sense of the passage with all its details, and the paraphrased version must be kept as long as the original, and sometimes it may be even longer than the original. But to summarize means to reduce the given passage into a shorter form in your own language. Summarizing is a useful study tool as well as good writing practice. Summarizing involves selecting out some important points and then using all those points to create a shortened version of that passage. This may be achieved by simplifying the ideas as well as using a different sentence structure or order to present those details. Even when you summarize, you must be careful not to copy the exact wording of the original source. You cannot depend on the language the other has used to develop his ideas, and you must find a way to give an overview of these points in your own words. You must also make decisions about which points to leave and which to omit. Next, qualities of a good summary. Remember, a good summary should always be simple, clear, and well structured. It contains main theme and supporting ideas. It should be written in your own words. It contains very few words. It doesn't contain same sentences from the original text. It doesn't contain any new information. That means you should not use any symbols or abbreviations in a summary. Next, stages of summarizing. Well, we have learnt that a summary is a short version of a passage which highlights main points and is written in clear, simple, and organized manner. Like paraphrasing, summarizing involves three stages. Number one, note making. I have not given the slides. Note making stage. Next, writing stage, and finally editing stage. In note making stage, read the passage carefully and highlight the main points. Note down all the main points by using some symbols, graphs, or drawings. Next, in writing stage, try to suggest a suitable title for the given passage. While writing, don't look at the original, concentrate only on the notes you have taken. Use your own words and sentences. Don't add your opinions or any new sentences. Next, in editing stage, compare with the original so that all points are organized logically, and check for the grammatical errors. Next, techniques for summarizing. Suggest a suitable title. The first sentence of your summary should contain the central concept, that is stated in your own words. Omit ideas that are not really related to the text. Remove minor or least important details. Don't add your opinions or personal responses in your summaries. Make sure your summary is short, well ordered, and include only the main points that really matter. Always remember that your summary should be a brief outline of the original. So, dear students, here we have given an example. just look at the given passage about SWOT analysis. Here we have 3 paragraphs, and look at the summary of the given passage. So dear students, summarizing is an important tool which helps you to identify what is most important for restating the text in your own words. If you are really good at a subject or any essay, then you will be able to summarize it. If you cannot summarize an essay, even if you have memorized all the facts or points about it, you can be absolutely sure that you have not learnt to summarize it. If you can write a 1 or 2 sentences summary of each paragraph after reading it, then that is a good sign that you have correctly understood it. That's all we have for you today about summarizing. Well, this slide gives you the details of completed syllabus. So far we are in first unit we have positive attitude, body language, SWOT analysis, emotional intelligence and etiquette. And in second unit we have paragraph structure, development of ideas. And in third unit we have paraphrasing and summarizing, and we have completed all these 3 units, and only 2 units are left, which I will be completed in the forthcoming sessions, 4th unit and 5th unit. And I am presenting the model paper for your semester exams, which can give you a broad idea about the pattern of the paper. You can watch how the pattern will be in your forthcoming exams. So just go through the paper and prepare for the exams as per the pattern. This is the second page. In first page, you will have 5 questions and you have to answer any 2. That is from unit 1. And in section B, in section B you will have 5 questions and you have to answer any 2. That is from second unit. And section C is about third unit. You will have 5 questions and you have to answer any 2. And section D, this is about 4th unit. 4 questions will be given and you have to answer 2. And in section E, this is about 5th unit. You have to answer any 2 from the given 4 questions. So this is the model paper for your semester exams. Well, that's all we have for you today, and in our next session we will start 4th unit that comprises of letter writing and email writing. Thanks for the joining. Thank you.